Then what about like what's the song right now that if you hear it, you just
Oh, okay.
lit?
Right now,
Mm-hmm.
definitely has to be um that it's Glorilla and Cardi
Mm.
tomorrow too.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to talk about something. Yeah, glow.
No, yeah, that's my jam.
Cuban, you're
But
Cuban. Cuban, you're Cuban.
tomorrow,
All right, y'all. Welcome to what's kind of the first episode of My Wild Life with Sincere. I am your host, Sincere, and I don't want to get too much into the first episode that we actually shot, but we shot one. I might still put it up because I do still like my original idea um, for it. It just isn't as fleshed out as this current one. So, um, so once again, my name is Sincere. I created this podcast because I wanted to have conversations with uh, regular, for lack of better words, people like myself. We watch a lot of interviews about celebrities and famous people. And, I feel like we have stories too that need to be told. So here we are. So I'm Sincere. I'm a dad, a brother, a son. I'm a writer. I actually have a published book that I wrote with someone. I've I've been a rapper. I have a whole mixtape out. Um, got made like 10 years ago. Man, I used to write comic books with my brother. I'll just be writing. I write. I wrote this show. So, thank you for watching. Today, I am here with my wife. Um, I would not be here today where I am, whether it's in here in this state we live in or anywhere else, if not for her. So, this is my wife, Khalima. She's a mother, obviously. She's a sister, someone's daughter. She's my best friend. This is it. This is my person. So, um, we're gonna kind of start off a little bit like the first episode we did. I gave her the layout for the first one, but not this one because I wanted this one to be a little bit more like real or like real time. So first we're gonna start with, of course, like how long we known each other, and in our first episode that we shot, we kind of went over um how we met and how we ended up together. And I think just a little bit, we kind of are doing a little disservice to the amazing story, honestly, if we think about it, of how we ended up together. It's just so many variables that come into play of how we ended up together. Is just crazy. So I do want to tell that story, but I think we should tell it on another separate kind of like fleshed out story of everything of leading up to how you ended up in Perscolis, how I ended up in Perscolis, which is the IT school that we met at. Yeah, the years that happened in between us, after the schooling, and then how we ended up getting back together. And I mean, if we want to, the crazy things that's happened since we've been together is it's it's a wild story. So, but we've known each other for
10+ years now.
Yeah, like 11 years, I think now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been married almost 2 years now. We've been together, I think, 5 years now. I think so. So this is your life. We gonna go down your life timeline, So we Black people, and sometimes we do things that have meaning. So I wanted to ask you, of course, how did you get your name, and does it have any meaning?
Well, my parents gave me my name, of course, but I remember my dad telling me a story about how they came up with my name from a Earth, Wind, and Fire song.
Yeah.
I think it was called like Kalimba or something like that. But knowing my mom, she loves names with really deep meanings. So somehow they came together and decided to come up with my variation. And black folk, they love to add silent letters or apostrophes and extra stuff. So my name came about that way, but I believe my dad said it was like a Earth, Wind, and Fire song that gave the inspiration. Black folk and their music.
Right. That's the reason why you see these black notes.
But my name is Arabic, and I know it's like the goddess of something. I remember my mom told me, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Just so I guess so people know, how do you spell your name?
Khalima.
Khalima.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're gonna start from the beginning. When you were a kid, did you have any imaginary friends?
I did, actually. Funny enough, my imaginary friend was Batman's sidekick, Robin.
Robin? What? Like, you was best friends?
I know. I couldn't tell you how it came about. I just remember I am on my dad's side. I'm the only child. Well, at least we believe I'm the only child.
Mm-hmm,
my dad was in the army and he was stationed in Germany. So we believe I'm the only child. And I lived with my dad all the way up until basically middle school. So I was an only child. I think, honestly, I don't think I was really meant to be an only child. I was pretty lonely. I enjoyed my solitude, but I did enjoy more so being around like my cousins and things like that. And it was just me and my dad for so long. And I was lonely and bored. And I had an imaginary friend, and it was Robin. He had his Robin suit on, cape, everything. He was my sidekick. And I would talk to him, and even sometimes when I got in trouble, it was, sometimes it was him giving me ideas, and I'm gonna try this, and I end up getting in trouble for it and shit. Or even saying things like in school, and I would smart ass responses I would have to teachers and shit. Things your friend, would do with you when you're a child. You get into the trouble. I had Robin, and I had a fucking basketball that I drew a smiling face on, and I gave him the name Mr. Ball. And it would be me in my room, especially because my ass was always on punishment for something.
That's like that. What was that movie with Tom Hanks? The Wilson ball. The Wilson.
It might have been a Wilson ball.
That's
I don't even remember where I got that damn basketball from. But because I was always on punishment for something, when I was younger, I was always on punishment for something. It was always school related, especially because my dad was very, which most black parents, black boomer parents, I should say, were very heavily into school and stuff like that. So usually when I got in trouble, that's what it was for. And I'd be sitting in my room all by myself with my basketball and Robin. And I would just make the most of my time. I don't even remember how he disappeared. I remember that little chunk of time where I had an imaginary friend that followed me around. I didn't talk to him, of course, when I was with other people, but
you don't know what age he disappeared.
I don't even remember what age he came about. Yeah, no.
Um,
It's so weird.
what is your earliest memory as a child?
I have no clue how old I was, but I remember we had this apartment in Brooklyn, and I remember the bed. It was some kind of, I remember correctly, princess theme bed because my mother always has to do the most. And I remember every morning when it was time to get up, my dad would wake me up always by, it was rubbing the top of my ear. And then it was time to go into the bathroom and brush my teeth and wash my face. And I don't know how old I was, but I remember like what the apartment looked like. I remember what my bedroom looked like. And I just specifically remember that morning routine of the cold washcloth on my face and that bed. And I even remember what the apartment looked like. But I have no clue how old I was. But I had to be pretty young.
So was the memory as of I guess your dad waking you up in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you have a favorite toy?
Favorite toy. So right around that time frame of the Mr. Ball and Robin era, I had these. No, before that actually, I had a kid sister. So it was, I don't know if you remember
I don't even.
Chucky doll, that good guy doll. The real life version was the My Buddy. And then they came out with the kid sister. And I had a black kid sister, of course. And I loved that doll. I took that doll everywhere. And I remember we were living with my grandmother. And I remember having that doll, and I would have my dad babysit the doll for me. And that was the part he hated because he was always creeped out. So I'm not sure if Chucky came first, but originally it was that kid sister doll. And then when I got older, I had these 3 triplets.
I seen these dolls before, but I never knew that this was a kid sister doll. That's what it's called. This doll was a doll.
Nope, kid sister, and I had the black one. And then when I got older, I had triplets, little babies. They came in a little carrier, and it was 2 girls and a boy, I believe. And I loved those dolls too. I took care of those triplets like they were babies, funny enough. And then became an adult and was like, if I ever had kids, I couldn't do more than one at once. And then boom, more than one at once. But it started with that.
Damn, I didn't know about that. First of all, I didn't know My Buddy was a real doll. Like that's what Chucky was based off.
The good guy, yeah, he was based off of My Buddy.
All right. Let's see. Okay, so we're gonna kind of go away from kid you to teen you, but what advice would you give kid you, like right now, if you could talk to the kid you before you became a teen?
Kid me. Definitely ask why more. You know how kids go through that phase of why. I was never that type of kid. I was never the why. I was more of the.
Just went with it.
I was more of the. I just rolled with whatever was going on because again, adults. I grew up with the second generation of boomers, and then my grandmother, who was a part of the silent generation. And my grandmother was my dad's mother, I should say, was a heavy part of raising myself and a few of my cousins. So there was this kids are seen and not heard thing. So I learned my personality is already, I'm a watcher, just kind of lurk around. I don't really say too much. But then it was also instilled in me, you silent.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how to be able to be in grown folks' business because I would just be there and be quiet, and they would forget I was there because you couldn't even hear me breathe. So I would definitely say kid me should have asked more questions, because there was a lot of things that parents and grandparents, grown adults do, and you like,
whatever.
Why? Right? It's like, okay, well, you said I had to do it, but why? Why are we doing this? Or why is this? Or why did this happen? And things like that. I definitely, kid me should have been a lot more outwardly inquisitive. I would definitely say, yeah, just ask why more. Might get in trouble for it, but eventually they'll answer you.
All right. What high school did you go to?
The first high school I went to was a high school for health professions and human services. That shit was on 15th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue. I decided to go to the high school. Yeah, in New York. I decided to go to that high school because we were living in Parkchester in the Bronx, and I just did not want to go to school around anybody lived in my neighborhood. I wanted to be away from all of them and your zoned high schools, right, which were trash. And then you had to be around all the same people that you see every day and hung out with all summer. And I wanted fresh faces and new experiences. So I decided to go to school all the way in Manhattan, all the way on the damn east side. So, and the second high school I went to was, I can't remember the name of it anymore. It was down there.
About
Delancey, yeah. That was the secondary school, they called it. Basically, it was, you got kicked out of your first high school, but you had to finish high school. This is where all the grown high school kids went.
My high school was called a secondary school, but I never got kicked out of any high school.
Oh, I started off.
Maybe I just went straight to a bad school.
No, I went to a secondary high school.
My high school was wild. I went to Watley. Were you popular in high school?
No.
Not neither one of them?
I wouldn't consider myself the popular kid. I would consider myself, I was just the person who I was amongst everybody. When I went to health professions, I discovered how to join all the lunches. It was like 3 lunch periods.
We're skipping class.
Right. So I learned how to do that, and I would be in just like different groups. So you would see me for some time hanging out with, I used to hang out with like the Spanish girls who spent lunch putting on makeup and talking about makeup and stuff. Or you'd find me the group with the quote unquote nerds who only sat around and did homework and actually did their work and shit. I actually was productive for some time. I passed a few classes hanging around with them. Then you would find me in the group with it was like a mixture of, I remember this friend I had, her name was Hydrema, and she actually...
Her name was what?
Hydrema. She actually was the one that got me into fashion and hair and nails and things like that. She was one of those, you would more so thought you would find her in the group with the black kids who wore the Jordans, the Jan Sports, all the labels, that group. But she wasn't really, she knew them, but she didn't really hang out with them. She hung out more with, I don't want to say, it wasn't the rejects. It was more like just nobody. It's a bunch of random, nobody kids who you look around and we all were like from different aspects. Then I hung out with the gays, and I was hanging out with them for a while. And then I ended up in the group where I met my best friend, and it was a bunch of Spanish girls. I'm always around Spanish people. It was a bunch of Spanish girls, and I remember just being at their lunch period one time and just decided I know them. Let me go sit with them. And I ended up hanging out with them and meeting my best friend.
Do you miss high school?
No, not even a little bit.
All right. This part I'll give you two choices. You can tell me the craziest story during that time, your teenage years, that you got away with, or the craziest story that your parents caught you in.
Oh, teenage years, right?
Yeah.
Man, I've had both of them. Man, I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with my parents caught me, and sorry, mom.
No.
But I was 17. I think I was 17. Maybe 16. One of the time, it was later, the end of teen years, and I was going to secondary school, and I was interested in who is my oldest son, Malcolm, his dad, David. And I basically chased him down. I know he was like dating some white girl or something like that. And I was like, nah, I did that. But yeah, I was interested and I pursued it and we started dating. And he lived in Staten Island and I would travel to Staten Island. One time we were coming back from Staten Island and it was late. And I was like, nah, you might as well stay. And we were living in Left Rack City in Queens. And I had my bedroom was like off the kitchen. So you come into the apartment and to the left is the kitchen. And you go through the kitchen and I had a bedroom. I remember I had like this weird like door. But my mother's room was on the other end. So when you come to the door, you fly right to my bedroom. So I was like, just come on, you might as well stay. I'm not going to have you traveling all the way back to Staten Island. So the next morning, he had got up to go use the bathroom. And
he got up to use the bathroom. What?
He got up to use the bathroom. And I remember my mom had gotten up and said, I good mornings. And she went to the bathroom. This nigga was in the tub, bruh. And I was like, fuck. And my mother goes and uses the bathroom. And I remember, I think he coughed or some shit. And my mother had a fucking fit. First of all, my mother does not usually curse. And I got cursed out. But I know for a fact, when we talked about it, it was the embarrassment. Mm-hmm. And of course, because one thing about my mother's upbringing, they were very private.
Right. Bathroom is like super private.
Right. So she grew up in a time where your pads and things were like hidden, super hidden. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever knew where you kept your pads or any personal things that females didn't share.
Right. Like even like female commercials are like way different now than they used to be. Like
right.
Like it was like shh, and they were literally like going shh in the commercials. Like
so I remember because my mother, we had a linen closet, and my mother would hide our pads deep into the linen closet. Mind you, it was just living there would just be me, my mom, and my sister. Unless she did have a partner that lived with us at one point. But it would be like, even for just us females, it'd be hidden. So the fact that there was a male, somebody in the bathroom, let alone a male that she never met or anything, she was so pissed off. And I got him out the bathroom and I got him out the house. And I remember walking into the train, coming back. My mother didn't speak to me for a good minute. But I remember that day, I just was like, yo, I got to get out the house just in case my mother put me out.
I'm about to say, you lucky your mother ain't put you out.
Yeah, I'm like, just in case she decided to put me out, I'm not going to be here.
We grew up with, they was quick to do that to people.
I remember I dipped off to Brooklyn somewhere and hung out with a homeboy of mine. Just, my mother didn't speak to me for a good minute.
Damn.
And I ended up being with him for a while because we had, my first son. And I think we broke up when he was like 2 years old or something like that. So we were together. That, I guess, high school kind of thing. But oh my God, I will never forget that. And I'm just sitting there and I'm in my room like, oh my God. And I I'm pacing back and forth through the house like, please, please. And all I hear was, what the fuck? I was like, oh shit. Like, and he was like, fucking, I think he said he coughed or some shit because she probably was taking a shit.
Oh no, that's nasty. That's crazy.
Not the betrayal.
Right, that's even more embarrassing. Not you dropping the deuce. Yeah, nigga coughing from the shower. You're like, what the? Oh nah, yo, now I gotta beat your ass, cool. Not only you gotta dig out my house, but I'm in the middle of shitting.
Oh, that was so trifling. I felt bad too, even though I held down my emotions. I felt bad. I just was like, but I didn't know what else to do. First of all, my mother usually got up early, but I think she got up. We were up. It was like 5 a.m, and she just. I'm like, go use the bathroom real quick, and I got busted. Sorry, Ma.
Of course, before we move on, we gotta get advice for teenage you.
Seek therapy. I wish I would have known more about therapy, and I wish that the silence of it and no one talking about it didn't leave me with that stigmatism of we don't do therapy. Because by the end of my teen years, I needed it. I needed it as a child. I'm gonna be honest. I went through some wild shit as a child, mainly dealing with my mother's mother and the evil that surrounded her. But therapy, I really, really wish anybody would have said, just mentioned it. Well, why don't you try it or do this?
But because they was like that. First of all, they was like, we was growing up. Unfortunately, people looked at therapy as like white people shit, first of all. Then it was like, if we were at therapy, it was like, it's because we were crazy. And we were like, I'm not crazy. So.
And in my case, they never talked about it. I mean, never. It was never something that was brought up. So my whole notion of it was you were crazy.
Right.
Or that's some white people shit. Right. I learned that from just TV or life. No one ever actually stopped and talked about it.
And not like white people shit that is like, like bad, but like meaning that one, you had money to go to therapy. Because especially back then, that shit was not cheap. I mean, it's not cheap now, but it really was like super unaffordable for Black people. And plus parents wasn't paying for that. I'm not adding no therapy to my insurance. And yeah, they wasn't with it. So,
and I needed it. I needed it because going into adulthood, I probably would have been able to make real life choices as opposed to making what I felt was very immature choices or trauma choices. Had I had some therapy and learned more about myself and my trauma up until I got to the end of my teen years, had I was able to go to therapy and really figure that out, going into adulthood, I don't think I would have made some of those choices that I made out of unresolved trauma.
All right. You know, funny too, because when I was in my teenage years, when I was in foster care, they actually had us in therapy. But again, because that whole stigmatism of I'm not crazy, I was probably the best therapy patient ever. My therapist literally was like, she didn't think anything was wrong with me. She used to tell me that, which I don't know if she was just saying that because, that's her job as a therapist and a child.
But your personality, you're still like that.
But yeah, she was like, no, I don't think anything is wrong with you because, but that was because I was good. I was really good at hiding and not telling her how I really felt because, again, I didn't want them to think I was crazy. I thought I thought as long as I ain't say nothing in therapy, nothing crazy in therapy, I was going to get out of foster care quicker and be back with my family. That's what I thought. But just like you, I think I probably could have benefited from talking to her about it. The only thing is, unfortunately, once again, she's a white woman therapist, and I'm a young black child.
Yeah.
It
wouldn't.
It's not. I mean,
it would have been a good start.
Yeah.
She could have gave you some good fundamentals, but she wouldn't have been able to tackle.
This is just a different struggle. I mean, I know people don't want to talk about it. They want to be like, oh, you want to bring up race so bad. No, but it really is a different struggle. It's a different aspect. It's a different vibe. If, I was watching some stand up the other day. It was Wanda Sykes. She said her white wife was in the neighbor's unfinished house checking it out. And she said that she was looking through their window and she could see into their bathroom from it. And Wanda Sykes freaked out, told her to get the hell out the house. And she didn't understand why. She was like, because if they caught my black ass in that house, they would have arrested me, called the dogs and everything. If they would have caught your white ass in that house, they'd have asked you if you wanted to see the next 5 houses. Like, it's a different, it's a different I mean, again, people don't want to talk about it because they feel like, oh, if I talk about it, that means I'm acknowledging racism or something like that. But racism is not it's a systematic thing. Like, it's just, that's the reason why some people say black people can't be racist, because it's a systematic thing. Like, it's just a system that's built that benefits white people. But anyway, that's not what we're here for today. So, are you still friends with those friends that you have from your childhood and teenage years?
I am. My oldest friend would be middle school. So one thing is, I've had a Dominican friend every aspect, started from elementary school. Right. Nice, but I don't think I'm friends with any elementary school, but definitely from middle school on, I still communicate with my Dominican friend from middle school. And then my bestie, high school. And then I have a few others from high school that I still communicate with via Facebook mostly. But yeah.
Okay. Who would you say is your best friend?
We'll start off with Jessica. She started it all. Yeah, she started it.
He started
because I'm gonna be honest, even though I hung around a lot of people, I didn't really have like that hardcore friend like I thought I did.
Right.
So I had friends that we rolled together in high school. Some I lost when I got pregnant because I got pregnant at 17. Some just kind of fell off. But she just stuck. Like, even when I would do my disappearing act, because I am very good for that. I'm very good for just ghosting and then just popping back up. Like,
that's part of our
yeah, it's just
together story.
It's what I do. Honestly, it's because it's my way of retreating. Sometimes I just don't want to be bothered with people anymore. And instead of just telling people that, I just stop answering. And she just she wasn't having that. She would track me down and hunt me down. Psychopath.
You're gonna be my friend.
Yeah, she tracked me down. And once I had Malcolm, she just was like, "You're not going anywhere." She's like, "This gotta stop." Because I was almost alienated after having Malcolm. So she definitely started it. And then I would say all the way up until now at my old ripe age of 40.
Right.
I want to say, as far as best friends go, I landed with 3. Her, Nigeria. She came into play some years later.
Came into play. Why they like pieces? Because she came into play.
Yeah, she came into play at some point, and then you came into play, and that's pretty much that really close circle. I have other people who I would call friends, but I keep my circle so tiny that it just, it looks like I have no friends because I can't do too many people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's the most fun you think you had in your 20s?
In my 20s? Mm-hmm. Oh, my 20s were very uneventful. I was a mom to 2 in my 20s. I was in a terrible relationship in my 20s. On top of the fact that I was never really into doing too much. Mm-hmm. So I tried clubs and, things I guess people in their 20s would do. Drinking, and I'm not really into drugs, so I didn't do too much of that. But the most fun, I would say, this one time Jess and we got really high and went to this. It was just like this gay club we used to go to. Was it like Esquilitas, I think it was? They had a really great drag show. And we was so, first of all, getting there was a fucking challenge because we was so high. And then we got there and we quickly learned that being high in the club was not it because the fucking lights and the music and the people, and we was like, this is not, and then we decided to drink a little bit. We was like, this is not it. But that particular night was so much fun because I still remember us trying to get to the bus and giggling and stumbling around, and then in the club looking like it really felt like everybody was watching the 2 of us in the middle of this fucking, because I know we looked fucking ridiculous standing there.
Probably like how you probably thought y'all looked a certain way, like right. Everybody thought y'all looked like fucking movie stars, but really y'all looking fucking crazy.
We look fucking crazy, probably, yeah. But we had so much fun, that night. So that was probably the most fun time that I had. But my 20s weren't, I guess, regular 20s. Like I said, I had 2 kids by the time I was 21. That I didn't really get to experience my 20s the way most people would do. And I was in a fucking a whole committed relationship. So I didn't really do too much in my 20s. I missed that part.
Yeah. All right. The next question was, do you have a story about the most fun you might have had in your 30s?
In my 30s?
That wasn't one of the next questions, but because you didn't really have a 20s one. I mean, that was a good one with you and Jess. So.
In my 20s.
Or now in your 30s.
In my 30s, right. Damn, what did I do in my 30s?
5 years ago, we was together in your 30s, so hold up there. We had some fun for you tomorrow.
I'm thinking about what if I did anything before. Because I definitely think that trip we took.
Which one?
The first trip we took.
The side piece. The side piece trip.
I can't believe
the side piece trip. I'm telling you.
I can't believe we did that shit.
I'm telling you.
So wild.
We're going to tell the story in length. We're going to take another episode to tell the story in length because it's so many things that happen.
It's a nice wild,
Yeah, it's so many.
romantic, trifling ass.
It is. It's really crazy. Yeah.
I'm trying to think before that, but I think definitely the most. Yeah, that trip has to be the most fun I had in my 30s.
Mhm.
Because one, it was never something I had ever done, and two, I was just able to just be me, be an adult. Because by that point I had 3 kids, so so I just, and it's not often that I was able to just do something, you know,
Each wall's clean.
do something, you know, adult and by myself and free, and you know, we just overall, it was good vibes, so we had a lot of fun. Well, I had a lot of fun.
What do you think dating was? This was supposed to pertain to the 20s question. That's why it wasn't originally a 30s one. But what do you think dating was like back then versus now? I mean, we married and stuff, but I mean, like, for you, I guess it would be like, what do you?
I didn't date in my 20s.
Right, because you was.
Right. I did a lot of dating before, in between that time frame.
Do you think it was like easier then, or?
I think it was easier because one, you're really young. You don't have real standards, honestly. Yeah, you honestly don't have real standards. You're basically in that mindset of I want to experience and I want to have fun and things like that. And I think when you get into your 30s, you start more so thinking of your future. You start getting tired of certain games that are played and the facade of, you know, and also that, you know, when you first start dating somebody, they say you have that mask on of who you want.
Like their representative.
Your representative, right. You get started into your 30s and shit, it's like, this me.
Right.
Representative.
They're no representative.
Right.
This is who I am.
Right. So there definitely is a difference, and I think it's a lot easier. And also, too, as you get older, you start really thinking about the age range of you dating. And then you start realizing that certain age ranges is just, just not it. So I would definitely say it was easier probably in your 20s because you're just dating.
Yeah, you're just wilding out or whatever. What are your friendships like now versus then?
Then again, being young and you feel like it's the most important thing in the world to have to talk all the time, every day, all day, and have a multitude of friends. And now I'm very, very low maintenance as a friend. Even though there was a point where Jess and I would talk on the phone all day long, especially when I was working out in the field. And I would be at work, and she'd be at work, and we'd just be on the fucking phone all day and chatting through multiple apps and shit like that. Now we don't really chat as often, but we still text just about every day throughout the day. But I'm so low maintenance, I don't require you to talk to me every day. I don't require, and please don't think that I'm going to fucking contact you every day.
Right.
Life gets in the way, and when I am super stressed or overwhelmed, I have a tendency to just not respond.
Right.
I'll see messages and just go, not
Swipe
today.
That shit.
Yeah, and I require friends who are gonna understand. I'm gonna tell you, like, listen, you're not. I'm not ghosting you, but if you call me or text me. If you call, I'm gonna answer, because calling me is like, okay, what's happening? Either you clearly just need to talk or something happened.
Right.
So I'm always
everything
gonna
else
answer.
is like text.
But if you text me sometimes, and I'll see it, and I'm like, not today. I can't do it today. So
especially if it's one of those people who kind of just bring like they always going through something.
And that's another thing. Yeah. I can't deal with those types of friends.
Yeah.
Where you constantly and you always have something going on because I always have something going
Right.
on.
I can't take on both of our things. It's too
And
much.
one thing I have learned over from my experiences, from my friends' experiences, the repetitiveness of the same issue over and over and over again. If we had fucking talked about it, if you were in a bad relationship and we talked about this bad relationship and you chose to say, as your friend, if we are close, I'm going to support you, but don't come back with it. Don't, because I'm tired of hearing it. You know how I feel. That nigga, that bitch ain't shit. That's how I feel. But I'm supporting you. And if you need help with furthering your relationship, I'm going to help you. I got, fortunately, I got the same thing in return from both my besties. They was not feeling it, but they supported me. That's, I can't, because, and it was one of those, listen, we talked about this. We're not talking about it no more. I said my piece. I complained about it. I'm staying in this relationship. I know how they feel. And then we moved on. I can't do that everyday drama. So publicly too. I can't do the public drama either. Don't bring that this way.
All right. What do you do for fun or to relax now?
I'm just getting back into playing my video games.
Thank God. Really?
Right. It is just, but generally, I get like that, especially after having kids. I get into that super.
Well, that's it's a maternal thing.
Yeah, and I just I'm already naturally will neglect myself for others anyway. So when you add kids into the mix, it's just like, it gets even worse. So now I'm slowly starting to get back into my video games. Then I'll kind of trickle into things like going back into my makeup and my wigs and my nails and things that I actually enjoy doing, as opposed to sitting around watching crime shows all day.
Okay, that's a good one. What's the most important thing you learned from your parents? You could answer like together or separately, but what's the most important thing? What's the most important thing you learned from your dad? What's the most important thing you learned from your mom?
The most important thing I learned from my dad was take no shit from anyone. Without that piece of advice, I probably wouldn't have learned some lessons. It might have taken me a while, but remembering that, I definitely learned my voice. Again, it took me quite some time before I implemented it. But definitely take no shit. It don't matter who you are. If it's not right, you don't take it. Period. You don't take on that burden. You don't have to deal. And that was probably the best thing that he taught me, because I have that personality of kind of rolling with things. Life will steamroll over me and I'll just let it. But because it was one of those, nope, I don't have to allow this to happen. And it was it stuck with me. My mother, I want to say, what's the best thing my mother taught me? Because my mother's real slick about teaching you life lessons without you even realizing it was a life lesson. I want to say definitely never giving up on things. My mother has this unique strength of continue pursuing something until she has exhausted, until she's exhausted, as opposed to allowing someone or somebody or life to get in the way. And that was definitely something that she instilled in both myself and my sister. It was, you have a vision, just keep going. Even if it's something very mundane, my mother always taught her, just keep going. My mother was a professional student. My mother never ended up being a psychologist like she wanted to. She didn't end up being a math teacher like she wanted to, but my mother went to school for all of these things. She just kept going. So even if it something so small, just, go for it. And I appreciate that because I am a perfectionist and will retreat if things are not right away. But because, my mother was just like, no, just, it doesn't matter. Just keep going. Just keep going. Even if you never use it, you can at least say you made it, you did it.
Right.
That was a good one. But my mother is very good at teaching you things, and you even know you learned some shit. So,
what's something that you loved, or you, I guess, had a talent or maybe skill for as a kid that you wish you didn't give up on or stop doing?
that I had writing. I was a poetry writer as a child, even from elementary school. I used to enter contests and win. And then I just, somewhere around, I don't know, maybe high school, I stopped. And I just stopped. I couldn't even remember why I stopped. I remember I had entered a poem into some contest and I had won some money and stuff like that. And I just stopped. But I was a poetry writer at one point.
Do you know around what age you stopped?
Definitely somewhere early high school.
Because is there something like maybe that caused you to stop, or something going on that maybe caused you to stop around that time?
I don't know. I mean, it was the same thing with, like, I used to run track, and then in high school I stopped. I think it was just, I was now experiencing life a different way. Teenage years. And I was free to travel around and experience things. And I think it just didn't.
You were like, you was living with a different.
I was living with my mom in high school. But I was able to, like, travel all the way to Manhattan. I had a different set of friends, different experiences. I learned how to cut school and, shit like that. It was just, I just stopped.
So would you say, like, maybe the people you hung out with kind of caused you to stop, or?
They weren't direct influences, more indirect. So it was more like, well, I'm into this now. I'm not really thinking about writing anymore. Discovering the life of, I don't want to say I'm discovering life of boys because I was into boys before that, but really discovering the life of high school boys. And when you start dealing with high school boys, then the older guys start coming into play. Those young 20s that don't fucking belong. Dealing with those
people that you ain't know back then that.
Right. When you start learning about them 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 20, they too fucking old.
Right. But why they coming to high schools
but it was a part of that experience.
That's so weird. Like when I was in college, when I was in that college age, I was never going to like high school to like pick out young girls.
I kid you not.
That shit is so weird that shit was happening. Like, and it still happens, but it's so fucking weird.
He was like 19. I had to be like 16.
Yeah, that's some weird shit.
So he was like, man, I don't even remember how fucking man.
He probably seen you. That's the thing. He probably seen you.
I don't remember how I met him, but he was 19. Shit. But that was a part of it. When you got hit like your second year in high school, around second, third year, you start running into the
These older
18-year-old,
guys,
17, 18, 19.
So weird. Like, and I remember when I was in high school, at least I remember I used to tell the girls in my high school, like, yo, that dude is weird. And they would hit you with the basically you hating or you mad.
Right, because you, first of all, it's this older dude.
Right.
You feeling really good.
Right.
It's not until you become an adult where you're like, it's real predatory-ish.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But we was feeling
right.
an older guy.
Like, this man 45. Like
an older guy, it's something about.
I remember. Oh my god! I remember I had a fight with an older dude because of something very similar.
It's a thing.
I was in high school. It was like one of my first summer jobs. I was working in the Bronx. I was a teen health advocate or whatever. We were teaching people about HIV/AIDS awareness, and I was a teen mentor, so I was teaching other teens. But it was this girl in there that I liked, and I was talking to her and flirting with her, and this, that, and the third. I think she didn't live too far away from the job. I was hanging out at her house one day. Older dude. And when I mean we are teens, this was a man. This man was in his like 20s.
It's a thing.
We were teens. This man was in our 20s. Me and him literally had a fight in the streets over this girl.
And you can't tell us nothing. We feel good. It makes us feel mature. And
yeah, she did. Definitely. And not that she ain't stopped. She was like, fuck you. I ain't never going to talk to you again. But she definitely was just like.
And then you also got to realize, too, high school boys are very immature. The way they pursuing you is like, this older dude brought me flowers.
We ain't got no flower. We ain't got no flower. That's the
problem. Niggas got money. He bought me sneakers. Money. Why you ain't buy me no sneakers?
We living with mom.
Right. And
mom buying my sneakers.
That's the thing, the allure. And I got caught up in it too.
That's crazy. It is crazy to find out later like that. That's really just some real predatory shit though. But
yeah. But that rolled with me through into my adult years too.
Like fat and 40.
I'm fucking fat and 40.
Right. So the next one was what advice do you have for your children or any young siblings right now?
My children. Wow. Much the same as, my dad taught me. It was, you deserve respect just like anybody else. Don't allow people to dictate who or what you want to be. And try any and everything until you figure it out. One thing I missed out on was getting to try anything to figure out what I wanted to be or do myself. I never got that chance. And
I mean, well, we ain't dead.
I know, but certain things, you want to start trying out and testing out, which is why I've gone to school for different things, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do or be. And I treated the kids the same way. Malcolm, especially Malcolm. Malcolm tried every sport, instruments, dancing, stuff like that. And I always tell them, and will continue to tell them now that they're young adults, is you deserve respect just like anyone else. As long as you're giving it. And just don't allow someone to dictate who or what you want to be. This is your life, and try any and everything until you figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. If you can, give me 3 bucket list items. 3 things on your bucket list.
Bucket list items. So for sure, RV. I want to go RV.
Of course, country.
Yeah, something. Just road tripping RV.
Okay.
But not one of them janky ass RVs though.
Okay.
You're not too bougie for that.
Okay.
So it gotta be like apartment on like a nice little condo on
Not
wheels.
a condo.
I'm not. I was gonna say apartment, but fuck that.
Not a
It gotta be like a condo on wheels or some shit. Because it's the same shit with camping.
Mm-hmm.
I've done camping.
I ain't never been.
And I had to be like in a tent and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it, but I need to go glamping.
What's glamping?
You remember a Goofy movie where nigga Pete pulled up into the woods and his RV pulled out. He had the bowling alley and the fucking big ass pool, the speaker system and shit. I
remember that part. And he pulled up and that shit transformed.
Right. It's a condo on wheels. That's what I'm saying. So definitely RVing. I want to do that. What else is on my bucket list?
So we got RVing. Mm-hmm. Condo RV.
I'm trying to think of definitely traveling places like Hawaii is on my list. Mm-hmm. Vegas, something so simple as Vegas. And there's something else. There was something else that I had on my bucket list that I was very interested in. I can't even remember at the moment.
And what about like what's the song right now that if you hear it, you just...
Oh, okay. Right now, definitely has to be that it's Glorilla and Cardi tomorrow too.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to talk about something. Yeah, Glow.
No, that's my jam. But
Cuban. Cuban.
Tomorrow too. That shit. That's my shit.
I ain't hear that yet.
Oh yeah, that shit. I put that shit on repeat every time.
Cuban.
And in the past, damn, it's just so much though. Mm-hmm. We had such good music.
Yeah, we did.
It's hard to like.
We did appreciate it. We did appreciate it during that time. We did. Mm-hmm. I was like, damn, I wish we appreciated it just a little bit more.
But the reason why is because we came from the era carrying around the big ass CD players with the CD book in your backpack.
Right.
We had Walkmans, but the CD era was a major thing for us. So we had to appreciate music.
Yeah.
Because for like last week, I've been listening to like the Drew Hill radio, YouTube music, and listening to all the Drew Hill songs and Cisco and all the songs. Just it's hard to pick a song from back then. It was such good music.
Okay. Let's see. What's the song that you dislike?
Return of the Mac. I hate that fucking song. Everyone loves this fucking song. Like my dad, this is a staple song. I hate that song. It's the worst song ever.
It's fire.
I hate that shit. It's the worst. I hate that fucking song.
It's a jam. That shit go crazy. That's the song that always makes me move. When that shit come on, that's my shit. What's something you do right now if money didn't exist?
Anything. I just be doing shit. You see those memes where they be like taxis and niggas be buying tigers and shit.
Okay.
I would just
get a tiger.
I would just do
a tiger.
Just something for no fucking reason.
I don't care how much money I have or don't have, but money didn't
Not
exist.
necessarily a tiger, but you know what I'm saying? Like, nigga just come home with a random alpaca or some shit.
Like an alpaca. Like, what?
Why they got bought a zoo?
I would get an ocelot. I would get an ocelot.
That's what I'm saying.
That's for no reason. Because that's my favorite animal.
Get on eBay and find a Pokemon. Like, nigga, something. I would fucking just... it'd probably be ridiculous.
Let's see. What is your... If you had any... What is your... Oh, no. You know what? I'm going to split this into 2 questions. If you could have any superpower, what superpower would you have?
Mind control.
Who you trying to mind control?
There's some people who just... I got a list. A good and a bad list. And it just... right off the fucking bridge. Like, right, the Xavier shit.
What do you think is your real life superpower? Like, what is your superpower like in real life?
My real life superpower.
I could tell you one of the silly ones. She fall asleep in 7 seconds flat. Boy, that shit's crazy. I ain't never seen nobody fall asleep as fast. This motherfucker here fall asleep. You could be having the greatest conversation in the world. You got 7 seconds.
Listen,
that's just...
I wait for moments of silence. If you silent for a moment, that's it. That's my goal.
It'll be a moment.
It wasn't rude. You wasn't in the middle of talking.
3.5 seconds. You breathe in between. You start breathing, you hear her snoring. Right? What do you think is a real life superpower? Like, if you had to say, like, I don't know, strength, perseverance, or patience, or...
That's not patience.
I just threw that out there.
It's definitely not patience. Perseverance is a really good one. Mm-hmm. I have endured.
I might need a tissue.
I have endured so many. Quite honestly, more downs than ups. And I have literally gotten through them. My superpower would probably be figuring it out. I can figure some shit out.
Yeah, we do. All right, these are the last 2. I think these last 2 are kind of heavy. So I think the last one is really heavy. And then, well, the first one is heavy, and I think the next one after that is pretty decent. So the first question of these last 2 questions is, what do you want to be remembered for?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny because I always believed no one really had any interest in me. Mm-hmm. So I never thought I would be remembered.
We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, I always just was like, okay. It was one of those you always wonder, like, why is anyone a friend of mine? Like, what is so interesting about me?
Yeah, it's like that imposter syndrome. It's like, maybe I'm not as important as I really think I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I do that. I have that with myself all the time. I mean, look, I'm making this, and it's like, I don't know if anyone is ever going to actually watch any of this, but it's like, damn, do I really think am I really as important as I believe I am?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think because of the friends that I keep and the people I keep around me and the way that I treat those who are important to me, I want to be remembered for being that person who accepted you for you. I don't really like people, but the concept of everyone being very different and thinking differently and acting differently, I enjoy that. And if you're a kind of person that I can deal with, I enjoy that person just being who they are, whether it's a trait that annoys me or I don't like, or I do like, just all the imperfections and things like that. I want to be remembered for being that friend where you knew you was able to just be you and you was generally loved and cared for who you are and what, and not what you could do for me. Because I selectively, I select people in my life for certain reasons. There's certain types that I just cannot deal with. But those who are in my circle, everything about them, down to the things that probably get on my last nerve, I thoroughly enjoy and accept, and never want them to change. Never change fundamentally,
All right. And the last one is the last question is, what's the best thing that's ever happened to you? Or what do you believe is the best thing that's ever happened to you? So far, of course.
Outside of the usual, having my kids, and outside of outside of the kids, I want to say for sure allowing my walls down enough to be able to be in this relationship. That's something that I'm not good with at all. And I'm gonna be honest, I think those walls led me into some of the relationships that I just didn't need to be in. Having those walls up, and some of those relationships created some walls, but I think generally when I started getting into serious relationships, I think though the initial walls led me to make some really stupid decisions. But outcomes were great children. I have pretty, parents are supposed to say that, but some parents know they don't have.
Right.
They don't have great kids. Some of them shit. I have, I have some pretty great kids. Nobody's strung out on drugs. Nobody's robbing and stealing. That kind of thing. None of that. Yeah, it's just everybody's good. So, I think that was probably the best thing that I did, was to allow my walls down and to enjoy myself. And in turn, I was able to enjoy us in the beginning. And then it wasn't even a thought or question when we took steps. It was okay. I was already so that feeling safe. You know how I talk about women when they feel safe, they make stupid decisions. But in that safety, I was sure enough to be able to not even question it, not even blink, not even think, to allow myself to have certain conversations like, well, what if? Because, marriage was never something, I said all the time, marriage was never something I ever wanted. I watched marriages fail left and right. And it was like, nah, I'm good. And then it got to the point where it was like, nah, this is what we're gonna do. It wasn't even maybe no. I was like, no, this is what we're gonna do. Hence the conversations we kept having. Where I was like, you got a little bit of time, because I'm not gonna sit around. I just did that, 13 years. I wasn't going to do that again, but also because I had a sense of urgency, but because I'm not the kind of person to just be crazy about it or overbearing about it, or it's more of I wanted to be natural, but I also, in a very calm way, know that I'm feeling crazy about this. Like, just let's go, let's go, let's go. So that definitely, definitely.
Was and the funny thing is that when it comes to the marriage part, when you said, "Oh, he was looking like, I'm not gonna wait another 13 years," we were together for I think like a year and a year and a half. When I had made that, made my mind up in that decision to buy this ring that you're still wearing now. So we were only a year and a half into relationship, and I brought that ring, and then I hid it until.
Well, hiding shit for me is not.
No, actually, hard. No, I didn't. No, that wasn't that. No, it wasn't that ring. Remember, because you did have another one first. No,
hiding shit for me is not hard. I'm not nosy like you are.
But no, yeah, I did. I remember I brought the first ring a year and a half in, and then that's when I made that decision, and then Cadence was born, of course, and then after he was born, he was only for like maybe 10 months, I think, when we ended up getting married. Mm-hmm. So we was in year 3 or going into year 3, and yeah, I was like, yeah, we're not, because my oldest son's mother, kind of similar paths. And there's not shade to her, but I just didn't know when exactly I wanted to take that step with her. And honestly, it kind of felt like I really only. It sucks to say out loud, but it feels like I really only was going to take that step with her because we had kids. We had already had a lot more than just kids. We had a whole house and shit. But it just seemed like it was the next thing to do at the time. Like I was following steps, and yeah, I'm glad that's a whole nother story in itself, and it's gonna be a little bit difficult one to tell, because if I ever even tell it, because it's very delicate, because there's no like drama between me and my son's mother right now. So it'll be crazy, but we are where we are now, so it doesn't really matter. But I just didn't know when I was going to take that step with her. Basically, is what I'm saying. But with you, I knew almost immediately. But once again, it was a few steps that led up into that. At that time, I just wasn't rushing into relationships, and there was a few people who I was dating at that time. When we had first started talking, that just, man, I mean, people talk about men being like hobosexuals or whatever, but seriously, there's a lot of women who do it too, and especially when you're like a single man. My son wasn't living with me, so I was a single man in my own apartment. I seemingly have my life together, which I really don't. Yeah, girls, yeah, I would just love to, be with you and move in, and then I can see me moving my kids here. Hold up. I just told you I got out of a relationship not too long ago, like, and I'm not trying to really, it's like, because like I said, I wasn't really pushing for anything, and we understood that with each other, that we both had recently been broken up, ended relationships, and we were kind of taking our baby steps and getting to know what we like and what we don't like, and And then of course that just kind of progressed into our relationship and getting to know each other. So once it came to a point of if we were going to get married or whatever, like, it wasn't like you said, it wasn't really a question. It was just like, yeah. I think I knew for sure actually on the like the side piece trip because I think
That goddamn side piece trip.
Right, on the side piece trip. I'm gonna explain. We're gonna explain the side piece trip, but on the side piece trip,
that's a fucking story to tell with Jess here too.
Yeah. On the side piece trip, yeah, when some things was going down on that trip, the fact that I cared about it because I don't care about shit that I don't care about. It might sound crazy, but it's absolutely true about me. If I don't care about something, I don't care about it. That's
annoyingly so.
This is so extremely true. That's one of the most honest interpretations of me ever. And I care about a lot of things. I mean, a lot of fucking things. So if you make me not care about you, or something happens that I don't care about, like, because I don't outwardly just be angry and mean and mad at people for shit. Mm-hmm. So if you do something that causes me to be that way, then I'm that way forever. There's no turning back on that anymore. So, but yeah, on that side piece trip, when I cared about some things that was going down, I was like, okay,
okay,
yeah, it's my peeps, it's my peeps. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, that's really it. I could tell the crazy pants story, but at this point, it's once again, it's another story. It's a story that I would have to tell on like my own kind of like full-fledged episode. That'd have to be like a side episode. It's like the story of us will be like maybe a side small 30-minute episode because it's probably like at least an hour. So yeah, it have to be like a side small episode. That's probably what I'll do. We all done here. I want to thank everybody who is watching, still watching, wherever you may be watching this at, because I'm not sure what's going on between the TikToks and the YouTubes. Well, I know they're trying to ban TikTok, but I have my own reasons as why I think why, but we're gonna say that for another podcast. So yeah, do the things y'all do, man. Like that, comment, subscribe, share it on everything. I want to, of course, thank my wonderful guests for being here with me. I want to do something special for. I want to do something special for like the last episode of the season. So that'll be in the works. So looking for that. Hopefully we have a lot more to come. But yeah, I do want to thank everybody for listening to this and enjoying this. If you did, even if you didn't enjoy it, I'm glad you watched it. So anyway, holla at your boy. We out. Peace.